Lilith's theory is about destroying heaven, not fixing it. And if this is true, it would lead to a conflict between her and Alistair in the future, which would be an excellent narrative choice for the series, and a way to finally align Alistair and Charlie at a moment of true connection and common goals. Lilith's backstory confirms this motive. The angels have done her dirty since they paired her with Adam and failed to intervene, or possibly even encouraged his disrespect. In fact, it would be surprising if she didn't view the angels as an imperfect authority. The first episode also ominously implies that Lilith enjoys hell, as she thrives since the fall and empowers demons with her songs. Charlie also vaguely mentions in episode 1 that Lilith has a dream about hell and her people, but doesn't specify what that dream is. It seems to imply that Lilith cares about the demons' sinners as her creations, which makes sense as Lilith in some myths is the original mother of monsters, while now we know that Lucifer clearly does not. She doesn't even seem as fazed as Lucifer to see how terrible people with free will can become, like Valentino. She didn't fall into depression being their queen, she celebrated. I would be very surprised if she wasn't the big bad of the series with such an attitude. And yet, for someone with such power who cares so much about her people, Lilith also seems unmotivated to solve any of Hell's problems. Her people continue to suffer at each other's hands, and she does nothing about it. And in her case, it doesn't seem like a case of irresponsibility. She's portrayed as the type of character who gets shit done, unlike Lucifer. This would mean that she values Hell as a ruthless dump that allows the cruelest, evilest people to rise to power. This, in my view, also means that Lilith is instead aiming to use this value for larger-scale goals such as confronting heaven. The intro to the first episode foreshadowed that she's gaining power in the spirit of an archvillain, possibly gearing up for a showdown. And from this perspective, it's super plausible that Lilith was behind the ancient uprising that was mentioned in episode 6, which apparently was the event that prompted Adam and Seraph to start extermination. Something happened that drew heaven's attention and appointed Lilith's ex-husband to destroy their own offspring, sinners, in hell. This beef smells too personal. Given all these hints, I think it's reasonable to predict that Lilith is being positioned as the big villain of the series, and she's aiming high and aiming for heaven itself. She wouldn't be interested in any system of sinners, winners existing or functioning properly, as she was banished before humanity even started acting out. And she doesn't seem to care that some sinners are irredeemably evil, to the point that even Lucifer falls into depression, possibly why they broke up. On this note, if her goal is to overthrow heaven, then Lilith's special ability to sing to use her power seems a bit useless. She's stuck where the angels can't hear her, only demons. Of course, her songs wouldn't be able to reach the inhabitants of heaven, unless she had prepared the final theory. I think that Lilith and Alistair have been working together on a broadcasting project for these 7 years. Either it's a way to broadcast her singing to heaven, or to amplify her power, more effectively broadcasting to unite the demons in another uprising. There's even a known connection that has been told about radio and its ability to aid in revolution, as radio waves provide a means of communication that can't be blocked by a repressive force like television, the internet, or traditional switching. Theories regarding Season 2 of Hazbin Hotel Serpentius being redeemed shakes up heaven and gives Hazbin notoriety. This likely also makes Hazbin more dangerous for the Overlord's business, thus attracting more active resistance from V. Serpentius still plays a significant role in working on the exorcists, because I like the idea of Charlie having this clumsy guardian angel who still helps her. Adam returns as a sinner and ends up in the hotel. His path to redemption is likely to be very long. I see humor in him failing basic exercises of Charlie for several hours XD. Alistair and Lucifer fight for control over the hotel, like little children. The rivalry should continue. Lilith's theory. Lilith and Eve are the same person. Origin of the theory. Before the show aired, I went to check the wiki pages to see if anything new had appeared. Instead, I accidentally ended up in Hazbin Hotel, Journey to the Light wiki. When I tried to find the fan comic it was made for, I found that it had been deleted. Although yes, this could have been due to a 24's copyright, I felt that the comic could have fallen under parody protection if it wasn't close to canon. But if it had too many canon elements, it made more sense. In the book, The Origin of Lilith, it is said that Eve lived in the world, submitting to Adam. She was crazy and dreamed of a family only until she ate the apple. However, having eaten the apple, a demon grew in her consciousness that quickly took control of herself. The demon, who called herself Lilith, was smarter and prouder than Eve. Therefore, Lilith resented her life with Adam after she was expelled from Eden and left with Lucifer. However, Eve did not disappear. She lived in the consciousness of the newly minted Lilith and constantly fought for control over her body. Lilith mentally fought with Eve throughout her life, trying to maintain control, but Eve became increasingly upset and offended. So my theory is, What if they took the idea of multiple personality and used it, but instead of turning it into a silent mental battle, it was actually normalized but never told to Charlie? Eve periodically took control into her own hands, and it was noticeable when Lilith no longer had horns. Lucifer, knowing about this personality change, tried to make this personality happy. While Lilith, it seems, has a more regal personality, easily fitting into the role of queen, Eve was created to be a mother. Notice on all the photos with her horns, she seems cold and distant, while on the photos without horns, she seems more playful and close with Charlie. However, after Charlie got older, Eve had other personal problems. She didn't like sharing her body, and she didn't love hell. She wanted the same redemption that was given to Adam, and which she wanted to expel. Either Lilith, although cold in character, still loved her daughter and saw that Eve would take power into her own hands and leave hell and the enslaved Alastor to direct Charlie instead of her, or Eve really cared about Charlie in some kind, and that she left Charlie with a conductor makes her feel better, having thrown her. Supporting factors and possible plot holes in my theory, Faustus considered their relationship to be characterized by the phrase, "Behind every man stands a great woman," and that they love each other very much. They describe Lilith and Lucifer as passionate, rotten lovers. The Luciferians tell Adam that both of his wives prefer him, a possible theory, which may indicate that they were the same person if the above comment about Lucifer and Lilith's relationship is still canon. But it could also indicate that they were separate individuals. Faustus describes Lilith only as somewhat good with children, although in family portraits we see her version that matches Charlie perfectly. Depending on how you view the interaction between Lute and Lilith. Some believe she made a deal with Lute to kill Adam and take responsibility for the exterminators, but Lute seemed crazed by Adam's death, so I don't think that's true. I believe there was a pact between Lilith, Eve, and Adam that she would stay in heaven. Otherwise, why would Lilith, of all angels, go to Adam? Lilith's reaction to Lute telling her to stop Charlie. Was it irritation because she was being inconvenienced, or animosity towards how Lute spoke about Charlie? Could it be that Lilith or Eve pretended not to care about her family in hell to side with Adam's? Pretended to seduce Adam, which is confirmed by how Adam constantly mentions how hot Charlie is, which would make sense if he still loved her mother, to get him to agree to a deal. Alastor's power theory. As far as we know, an overlord's power increases as they acquire more souls from other sinners. Alastor apparently was extremely powerful as soon as he arrived in hell. My theory is that Alastor, while still alive, added a clause to every contract he gave to someone who worked for him, or who wanted to appear on his radio show, stating that he now owns their immortal soul. Obviously, most of them would just sign anyway, because who on earth would take something like that seriously? Therefore, as soon as he arrived in hell, he already possessed a large number of souls, and thus wielded immense power.